Hello, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the aims of scouting. We're all familiar with the values of scouting because they're in the oath, law, motto, and promise. I love all of those wonderful, beautiful words and the promises that we make concerning them. I think sometimes the slogan is a little neglected. At Eagle Courts of Honor, it's often presented, but at Eagle Board of Reviews, it's often forgotten. But it isn't forgotten in the way Scouts live their lives, because doing a good turn daily is the foundation of scouting, and doing is what scouting is all about. Importantly, though, are the aims of scouting. All our methods come together to bring about these three important aims, and so we should review them and we should think about them. We're going to start with one tonight, which is citizenship. And whenever we think of citizenship, of course, we think of the flag, which stands for so much that is beautiful and good in our lives and in our country. It stands for our country and so much else. I'm standing before our American flag here and then a beloved particular flag. This is the flag that flew over Camp Lowell from 2002 to 2017. That's 15 years of glory and beauty, often mended and put back up the pole day in and day out until that hot summer sun started to fade the blue field, and we decided it was time for it to come to its rest and respect as it is shown here tonight, and I'm honored to be with it. I want to talk to you about some of the steps we go through to teach the Scouts about the flag and about our country and about this important aim of scouting, which is citizenship. On our first campfire night, as we get ready to go up to the mountain, we assemble for our first flag ceremony on the parade ground just behind the lodge. And after skits and activities and information have been exchanged, I ask for just a few minutes to talk to the Scouts about flag etiquette. I remind them that if they're in full uniform, when given the proper command, they should give the Scout salute. I talk to them about standing at attention and how to remain at attention until they're told to come at ease after the color guard has been dismissed. I also point out that if they're wearing a hat that's part of their uniform, they can keep it on during the flag ceremony. Otherwise, they should take it off. And if they're not in uniform, the proper salute is to place their hand over their heart. And then I mention, as it should be done, that our wonderful veterans, who we love and respect so much, are allowed to salute the flag no matter what they're wearing, and we honor them at that moment. I then go on to tell a story told every National Camp School I ever attended with him by Vern Dunn. I first attended National Camp School when Vern Dunn was the director back in 1976. It was a great opportunity. And then the next year he had me back as a counselor, and I went for many years after that and enjoyed it enormously. And he'd always begin our first flag ceremony with this little explanation. He would explain how in the morning, when the flag went up the flagpole, we pulled it up just as fast as we could. We're all proud to be Americans, he said, and we want the whole world to see it. But in the evening, when we bring the flag down, it comes down slowly, pulled down deliberately, hand over hand. And then he would explain how in the ancient days, when the enemy broke through the gates of the city, they'd run through the streets until they came to the flagpole, and then they'd cut the halyards, and the flag would fall in disgrace. So when we bring it down at night, we bring it down slowly, so that those seeing it from afar will know it comes down into the hands of those who love and cherish it. I then go on to explain to them the basic steps of how we're going to go through the flag ceremony that night and stand at attention until the flag is folded, the color guard dismissed, and they are put at ease. A week later, Friday night, as we get ready to go up to our final campfire together, I ask for another few moments to talk to them about their flag. This is a great time for us to talk about what the flag stands for. And I remind them that it first and foremost stands for our country. It stands for this great beautiful wilderness in which they have spent a week, which was a gift to us, from the American people. National parks and national forests are treasures that we chose to preserve for us. I then go on to tell them a story related by Rulon Skinner, one of Vern's favorite servicers at the national camp schools I attended. Vern was the professor of youth leadership at BYU for many years, and what a great man he was. He'd also been a scout executive, and what a terrific leader and exemplar. But he often told this story, how as a young boy in high school, in the early days of World War II, he arrived early to his class on the third floor of Provo High. Now, if you've read your history, you'll know that in the early days of World War II, we Americans, we weren't doing so well. Our fleet had been damaged greatly at Pearl Harbor. Our armies defeated in the Philippines and in North Africa. And as Rulon looked out the window that morning, he could see flying on the flagpole the flag of the United States upside down. He turned to his young teacher and told him. The young man stepped to the window and looked out, saying, "Oh, I hope not." And when he saw it was true, he turned and left the room. Rulon stood there watching, and a few minutes later, he saw that young teacher and two other young teachers leave the building, approach the flagpole, and with greatest reverence, they brought it down, set it right on the halyards, and ran it quickly back up to the top of the flagpole. And then Rulon would explain that within 1 year, all three of those teachers were dead. They had given their lives in service to their country. He then explained to us that the flag also stands for many other things. The blue in the flag is for honor and loyalty, the white for purity. The stars represent our unity as a nation. The red is for courage. But the red also stands for the blood of those who have died for our country. Then I explained to the scouts that, and often sadly, all too truly, that in this week that we have played together in our beautiful wilderness, some hero has died for them. A fireman, a policeman, soldiers on the distant fields of war. You know, in the good book it does say, greater love has no man than this, that he lay down his life for his friend. But I ask them to consider how great a love it must be for someone to lay down their life for someone they don't even know, for us. And then I ask them to consider this. Scouts, I say, I hope you will understand that there is more than one way to give your life for your country. I hope you will all grow up to be men and women who will live for America. We then proceed up to our last great campfire together, which concludes with the retiring of the ragged old flag. And we think that night, often with tears in our eyes, of this beautiful symbol and all it stands for. You know, I bet I've seen more flag ceremonies than you have. Oh, I love it when they're perfect, when the flag goes right up to the top of the pole, tied off tight, everything perfect, comes down smooth as silk. But I kind of like to see the other ones occasionally too. One of those is at Camp Lowell. We have a carabiner on the line, on one of the two lines going up, to keep them from getting tangled. And sometimes an overzealous color guard will attach the top of the flag to the wrong hook and start the flag up the wrong way. And Old Glory just won't go through that carabiner. Of course, these kids aren't stupid, and they figure out that if it won't go up this way, it'll surely go up the other. So they run it around, and sure enough, there's Old Glory at the top of the flagpole, upside down. Or another one, perhaps even more common, they get it up just perfectly right, but before the color guard has time to tie it off, a little over-anxious senior patrol leader calls out, "Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance." And the color guard steps back and comes to a salute, and down comes the flag all on its own. Yeah, I've seen them all. But you know what I've never seen? I've never seen a jeer or a mock, a giggle or a sneer. How can it be that 300 teenagers can stand there watching 5 kids make fools of themselves and not take advantage of mocking them? Any thoughts? Yeah, respect. Respect for their scoutmaster and his boot 10 feet behind them. I hope it's respect for that line of camp staff members standing at perfect attention, modeling the way. But it's surely respect for their country and for their flag that represents it. How about a little sympathy? Surely there are many hearts touched by the problems that little group of guys is having. They feel sorry for them. It's okay to have sympathy for those in trouble. It leads to the next great step, which is empathy. I'll bet there's not a senior patrol leader in the congregation that's not thinking, tomorrow, that could be me. And what do we need to be good citizens? How about respect? Respect for each other. Respect for our nation. Respect for the flag that it stands for it. But really respect for the beautiful, wonderful, God-given country that protects us and brings us all together in unity. How about some respect for all the service that is given and all the wonders and creations that are brought about by a free people working together? Okay? How about some sympathy? We have a lot of people whose lives aren't perfect, who have struggles, who have need of help from the rest of us. I hope our hearts are often touched as we become good citizens, not just by paying our taxes to protect and keep the whole thing running, but by giving service and giving of ourselves so that those who have not got the things that we have can have better lives. And surely empathy. You know, most of us have only been here a few generations. Most of us face challenges and difficulties, and we need to come to understand that those who have faced problems need our support, that they can move on, that we can all work together, that we understand that none of us are perfect, but we have empathy for those flaws, and we move ahead. Thus, let us remember that great aim of scouting, to teach by doing how to be good citizens.